This
I'd
conference
like
will
to
now
call
be
the
recorded.
2020 meeting of the Tilton Select Board to order. Before we get started, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you want to speak. Otherwise, background noise will interfere with the meeting. As chair of the Tilton Select Board, due to the COVID-19/coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 202004, this board is authorized to meet electronically, and these reasons shall be reflected in the minutes. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that A, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone. Members of the public wishing to attend this meeting electronically may call the following conference call number at 1-866-899-4679. The access code is 817-026-717, followed by the pound sign. When prompted for audio, just hit the pound sign again. B, additional public access by video or other electronic means we will be available as follows. We are using the GoToMeeting platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate remotely using your smartphone, tablet, or computer at global.gotomeet.me/Town of Tilton/Selectmen. This information can also be found on our website at tiltonni.org under Meeting Schedule and Agendas, Board of Selectmen. C, we are providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting via telephone conference and by GoToMeeting, and instructions are provided on the Tilton Town website at tiltonni.org and at the town kiosk. D, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting that a member of the public wishes to speak or be recognized during any public comment or public hearing. If you're a member of the public listening in and have questions, please write down your questions, and at the end of each agenda item, I will ask if there are any questions from the public before we move to the next agenda item. Please state your name and address and then ask your question. E, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please email web@tiltonni.org, which will be monitored during the meeting. F, we will adjourn the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call. When each member states their presence, also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required by the right to know law. Constantino.
Constantino is present. There's one in the room, and there's one shortly going to be coming in.
Fog
Bob.
present. Fog present. 2 dogs lying next to me.
Jessamine is present, currently alone. Pyra.
Pyra here. 3 other people in the house with me, but I'm in a room by myself.
Scanlon?
It's Scanlon here. I'm by myself.
Okay. Would you please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Okay. The first order of business is to review the June 4th and June 11th Selectmen's minutes. I would make a motion to bring the minutes to the floor for discussion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Constantino?
I have an issue that can, I don't have an issue with the way the minutes are written, but there's an issue in it I'd like to bring up at a later time.
Certainly. All this is bringing the minutes to the floor for discussion.
Well, we don't need a motion for that. All right. Yes,
I just made the motion and John seconded.
got it. Yes,
Fogg
Constantino?
present.
yes.
I'm a yes. Eric?
Ira, yes.
Scanlon?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Pat?
No, I want to bring up an item that's in there later for discussion. I can bring it up under my items
Oh.
unless Jeannie's going to have it on her list.
Okay. Well, you can bring it up when we come to that. Is there any other discussion?
Not a correction. It's not a correction, Joe.
Okay. No, I get it. I have a question in the minutes too, but it's not a correction. Is there any other discussion on the minutes? I make a motion, we accept the minutes of June 4th and June 11th as presented. Is there a second?
Ira, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I was
Jeannie.
following correctly, I believe you brought June 4th minutes forward for discussion. And
No, both sets of minutes for discussion.
I guess I missed that. All right,
And then the motion was for both sets of minutes to be approved as presented.
okay, great.
Okie dokie. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Constantino?
Yes.
Fogg, yes.
Chessman is yes. Ira?
Ira, yes.
And
Scanlon, yes.
Scanlon? Thank you
Yes.
very much. Next thing on the agenda is the selectmen's reports. And I'm up first on this one. Residents who need assistance in COVID-19 related issues should dial 211, which provides residents with the most up-to-date resources they need from specially trained information and referral specialists. If you need it, call it. All town buildings remain closed to the public until June 22nd, at which time buildings will be open to residents and customers by appointment only. Yeah, we're still, when we open on June 22nd, we're only open by appointment? Jeannie?
Well, I guess that's something to be discussed when we get to the reopening, because it would be by appointment only for everyone except for the town clerk tax collector, which would be open to the
Okay, we'll discuss that further down the line. And I'll continue reading. The public will be required to wear masks. And that's true. For those of you who don't know, the Department of Public Works is holding annual Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. this Saturday. June 20th is the last day to participate. Please be sure to visit our website to learn more about how to safely dispose of your unwanted items. Okay, I have one thing to bring before the selectmen. Well, two things, I guess. The first one would be, we still don't know for an absolute positive fact that the town of Northfield is going to allow the uh, concerts to be held.
Mr. Chairman,
We're trying, yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's somebody who's got a lot of feedback. I don't know who caller one is, but I did want to mention that when Gail's trying to transcribe these minutes, there's a lot of feedback. It's very difficult for her. So I think the feedback is coming from caller one. I don't know who that is, but if they could put themselves on mute, that'd be great.
I just
Please.
muted caller one. I also see that there's some sound coming from Selectman Constantino's microphone too.
Okay, please turn down those microphones. Okay, so, so I'm just announcing that right now, we have no signed agreements. Is that correct, Jeannie?
That is correct. I'm happy to give you an update if you want, or I can do
Please.
it. Okay, so I did hear back from Northfield today, and essentially they checked with Primex, and they still have not given us an answer. They want indemnification, they want liability coverage, and a facilities agreement in place. And so I sent back an email and I said, well, does that mean that if we have all these stipulations that you want, that the selectmen in Northfield will agree to the island concert? And I have not heard back. So at this point in time, we're waiting on Northfield.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll be getting back to us soon. Meanwhile, Riverfront Park, it remains an option, kind of. You know, Eric.
I have a question. Well, just I knew you were going to say Riverfront Park, but if Primex is involved, isn't the same stipulations going to be involved there as well? So we're stuck in a pickle.
No, I understand what you're saying. And what I'm saying is that we might not be able to get the deal with Northfield. I don't know it for a fact. And yeah, Primex is involved in both situations, but we wouldn't have a two-town solution to it. That's not to say that we can find a good solution. I don't know. The Parks Department has to come in and we'd have to talk about it. Time is of the essence, that's all. Peter.
Another option they may check with a different governing body would be the soccer field at Winnisquam. It has a fence all the way around it, so you've got access. It's fairly large. They could probably space out and fit close to what they fit on the island there, because I don't think you could get the same numbers at Riverfront.
No. Well, they were doing 300 a week or better, weather dependent, but we had a lot of good days last year for sure.
There's no
I don't
power
know.
at Winnisquam. If you
Say
used
what?
if you used Winnisquam, there's no power at the Winnisquam field to use,
Yep.
and they need power for the band.
Pat, the building right up against the track, you got a snack shack and a storage unit. They've got power in those.
They don't have enough power for the band though, and the concession stand.
Well, we can ask anyway. But the whole point of the concerts for the Hartwell family is because of Allison's mother. And having them at the island is really dear to her. So we're still shooting for that, but we'll see what happens coming up. Lastly, from me, is the chief of police on the line?
I am here, Joe, at the PD.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief. Um, I have received this week a phone call from a resident and a citizen about loose dog complaints. And we all know that dogs get loose sometimes, and that was not his issue. His issue was how they were followed up on by the police department. And I can't speak to the exact nature of it, excepting that he was very dissatisfied with some of the answers he got, and that the problems were not taken care of. The loose dogs remained an issue. And I was just wondering how it is that we don't pursue these things. People should be able to walk along without being attacked. So could you address that for me?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, the ordinance does not allow for it, and so I'll definitely follow up. Is there an address or a name or a way I can connect with them?
I'll text you the name, Chief.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll follow up on it. Is it something that was within the last week?
It's an ongoing issue, and it's not the only one. Now, I've heard this from several other people. This was in the tree streets, so it's up and back in
Yeah.
downtown and whatever. And a lot of people walk their dogs, and some people apparently don't control their dogs, and they get out of the yard. The residents are feeling threatened, and it's an ongoing problem. And I've been listening to it for a year. Um, so I would certainly like to see some follow up, some satisfaction to these individuals, and I'll give you
Sure.
some names later on, so that you can do it. But just as we go forward, it occurs to me that some of the police officers don't take some of the ordinances as seriously as others. We're really, really good at making drug arrests and arresting felons. We have crackerjack police officers, no doubt. But the mundane stuff seems to be not as exciting, maybe. And the taxpayers that I talk to are dissatisfied with that as a outcome.
Okay.
They're totally about, hey, we busted a meth dealer. Yay, that's great. But I got bit by a dog that's been coming out of the yard for a month now.
Right. Not
That's
so
the kind
great.
of things that
Yeah.
really affect them on
Yeah.
a daily basis. So
Sure.
I'll text you the names, and
Yep.
please follow up if you would.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll follow up on it tonight and get a car over there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right.
That's the last
You're welcome.
thing on my list. Uh, and the next person up is Pat Constantino.
Thank you, Joe. I do
Thank
have a,
you.
I do have one item. I was contacted by Christy Heath. She is the program director over at Ready Set Connect. It's an autism, I guess, program over by the senior center. It's right next. The building is owned by John Bernard. It's next door to. There's one building in between Ready Set Connect and the senior center that's owned by John Bernard, where the Pilates was and the juice bar. And then right after that, it's the Ready Set Connect in between that little mall, that strip mall. It's one house before that. Well, anyway, they have a program. It's owned. They are owned by Crotched Mountain. Um, They usually have about 10 kids at a time, plus one-on-one therapist with each child. Um, they are ADA therapy 30 hours a week. They work there. So they're open during the day. I'm trying to read my notes here. What they are asking, oh, they have Concord, Manchester, and they're opening another program in Nashua, and they close at 5 p.m. So what they're asking the town is that they would like to have a backup resource in case of an emergency, gas leak, water leak, fire, some emergency, that they could uh, get the children out safely, walk across in the back in the parking lot where John Bernard has that where it's the dirt road next to us. So they would come out of their building in the back and come into the senior center where they can phone their parents and have their parents come pick the children up at the senior center in case of an emergency. So that being said, they would come up with a memorandum of understanding, and I asked her to if they had some type of a memorandum of understanding with the other buildings, and they do. And the one they redacted a lot of the information on how many. I think this one was from Manchester, and they would just kind of briefly would provide a contact list of minimum of 3 staff who would be able to provide access to the senior center, and it would provide access within about 45 minutes to be contacted by the Ready Set Connect staff, and then agree to give them access to the space large enough to accommodate up to, and it says 80 children here, but they have 10, and that's the most that they'll have over there. And then there's a couple of other things. So what I'm asking the board, because it's the board and the executive committee, because we accept and reject the agreements over there, who rents and who doesn't rent. But this is a memorandum of understanding which goes to the board. So I think that what we should do is, if you're okay with agreeing with them, the executive board is okay with allowing them to use this as emergency only. This is important for community and reaching out, and if they're in a dire need, obviously we want to help. But then we should probably ask Jeannie to check with Primex and run and work with myself, chair of the executive committee, and Jeannie to come up with some type of memorandum of understanding that is detailed to the town of Tilton, and then perhaps go that direction. So I don't know how you folks feel about it. Don't everyone speak at once.
Show me the MOU and then I can comment.
Well, do you think that that's a good idea to have a safe spot, or do you not think it's a good idea? Let's start from the ground first. And if you think it's a good idea, we'll go forward with an MOU. If you don't think it's a good idea, then we won't go forward with an MOU. We'll just say, no, the town doesn't agree.
I can say yes, and the MOU can be a piece of crap. That's why I want to see a draft MOU to start the discussion. I'm not against it, but without seeing it, I'm not going to give a carte blanche.
Okay. I feel kind of the same way Peter does. I think it's a fine idea, but it depends on what the agreement is between the two parties. Eric?
Well, the same thing, but also what Primex says. They're the almighty insurer.
John?
Yeah, it sounds great. I just have to, put something together on how it would work, and how would that work if they're in the middle of the senior lunch or something. But let's see what we can do to help out. But it's kind of hard to see the thread until you see it.
Thank you,
So,
John. Pat?
so we're okay with ground level looking into this, and Jeannie will kind of come up with some type of, we'll get back to her and say we're looking into it and come up with some type of memorandum of understanding, an agreement, work with Christie, and then contingent upon the memorandum of understanding, we'll take it from there.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm in agreement with that. I think that that will work. Um, June 11th minutes, did we already, we said yes to those tonight, correct?
Correct.
So I just want to bring up one thing here because, and Chief, are you still online?
I am,
Good,
Pat.
good, because this is regarding you. So
Okay.
the chief on in June 11th, and I'm really concerned with this because on page 4 of the minutes, it says Chief Cormier confirmed the PD has been abiding by and will continue to abide by the recommended guidelines. And this is to do with the guidelines that the governor is calling for, reopening our buildings and so on. But nobody we found out that nobody at the town, at PD building are wearing masks, and they don't even wear them when they approach a vehicle or stop the vehicle, but they will if they grab them from a DUI, or if they stop a vehicle and they have to pull them from the car, they're going to stop and mask up. But I don't. I have a real issue with that because if we ask our town hall people and our public works people to mask up, because you never know who's going to come into that building if you're opening it to the public. And if you're opening the PD to the public and they're not masked up, I have a real issue with that. And I'd want to know how the rest of the board feels about that because they're not, we asked the senior center, we asked town hall, we asked public works, and the entire police department is not masked up while at work. And that's through the chief's admission yesterday when we talked with him. So I want, maybe you want to say something, Chief.
Yeah, sure. So just going on the weekly calls and trying to get a sense when this first started, what the advice was for us inside the building. And they said to maintain social distancing, keep that 6-foot rule. If you can't maintain 6-foot rule, then to mask up. And then the guidelines for us as far as arrestees were if they had to place someone in custody and they're going to be within 6 feet, to place a mask on themselves and then also on the prisoner. And so that was the guideline that we initiated when this began, and so far it's worked for us. We haven't heard anything where we should change it. And also, the captain put out a memo to all the employees if they have any symptoms at all, to not come in and call us. If we have an arrestee that says they have it or they're experiencing symptoms, they're ordered not to bring them into the building and to have the fire department respond to the parking lot and check them in the parking lot. If the fire department confirms that he does have symptoms, then he would be transported immediately to the hospital. So those are the precautions we have in place now. And so far, all our staff have stayed healthy, and it seems to be working.
So tell me how you would think that there's a 6-foot with the captain in the staff's, the lieutenant's office, and how you would think that the sergeant's office, there's 6 feet when there's 2 of them in there, or the detective's office when there's 2 in there, or the officer's squad room when there's 2 in there. There's no place where you can measure 6 feet to be apart. Well, maybe the squad room you could, but you certainly can't do that in the detective's room. You certainly can't do that in the sergeant's room or the lieutenant captain's room. And for that matter, you can't do it in dispatch. So when one takes over, the other one, there's an overlap in time in their schedule, and nobody's masking up.
Yeah, it's if it's 6 feet, it's barely. It's pretty tight in here. I know that the officers have been, checking their temperature before they come in. If they feel like they have a temperature, they're not coming in. We did have one officer who said that, he wasn't feeling well and called and stayed home. So I think they're making those decisions at the house and, trying to avoid bringing it in. But it is a tight building. It's been difficult.
So then, I'm sorry, I'm getting really frustrated right now, but it doesn't, I think that you're
Pat,
dancing
why
around
don't we
it.
come
Just
back
shut up.
to you? Why don't we come back to you? You can collect your thoughts. How about you, Peter?
Couple things. Jeannie, can you check with Public Works, whoever was there when the water company put the meter back in at Riverfront? Did we check to see that it's the right meter and that the meter reading matched when it was pulled? Since a couple of years ago, we had a very exorbitant bill that to me has not been explained. And then the other item is looking for opinions on the ultra low volume sprayer that Jeannie and I saw a brief demonstration of today. And John,
Explain it.
John, one of your questions, your SDS is going to be whatever product you use. They're selling the device that basically atomizes it. And so all you have to do is find some solution that would be capable for COVID-19. You put it into it according to its ratios if you have to mix. And then with the spray gun, you have an adjustment on it for a light to heavy spray. And depending on the products you use, you're going to have what's referred to as dwell time, or how long it needs to stay wet for it to be effective. So depending on the disinfectants we may use, it could be up to a 10-minute dwell. Some of them are less than that. You can't use hydrogen peroxide type products or bleach because you'll have problems with some of your metals and all. But it's like a backpack device. It is corded. Unfortunately, they don't have a cordless one. So that's the only hard part. But if we got one, I don't know if Public Works would be able to have someone come in periodically to hit all the buildings in town. So I'll leave it for questions now.
I have a question, Peter. Please tell me, how much does it cost to disinfect Public Works? Do you have any numbers on what it costs to disinfect a building?
No, what you'd probably have to do is look at and I don't know if the product bottle would tell you how many square feet you can cover or what, or if it'd be through trial and error.
Well, I was thinking that if it was $400 or $500 to disinfect a building, and this thing costs $2,500, that it would be well worth buying. But what is it, $50 to disinfect a building, or 500? And that's what I was kind of getting at. Jeannie, do you have anything on that?
I don't have anything on that.
Labor, Joe's your biggest.
True.
What I do know is after the demonstration today, Peter asked me to check with the Gopher folks to see whether that unit would be reimbursable on the product. And the feedback I got was that it will be. If we purchase it, we would get reimbursed for it, as well as the product, because it's above and beyond what we normally would do.
Well, it certainly became much more attractive just then. Peter, I have a question. Pat was asking earlier on for a selectman's comment on what they thought about the police department wearing masks or not wearing masks. And I was wondering what your take on that was.
Well, I'm one of your naysayers, so if it's the policy, whatever, I'll follow it. I'm not a mask wearer, but if you notice when I go in town hall, I will put it on.
I did notice that today. Me personally, I feel that if you walk up, I understand the social distancing aspect of it. But if you walk up to the side of a police car, chief, there's no 6 foot distancing. And if you're not wearing a mask, you take the chance, and you don't know who you're pulling over. And some people who had it are asymptomatic. And if one officer comes down with COVID-19, now all the officers have to be quarantined. And that seems risky to me. Eric, would you like to comment?
I don't generally wear a mask. I don't wear a mask at my place of employment. I do carry a mask so that, like, if I have to go to town hall, I'll wear a mask. But if I go to the supermarket, I don't wear. But where I work, we also try to keep 6 feet apart, but it's not always possible. So.
Yeah, but that didn't answer my question. You are a politician.
I don't wear a mask, and
So you're a no.
I guess I'd be a no.
Okay. How about you, John?
Okay, so yeah, I think I'm not sure what other police departments are doing, but I go to a lot of different places, and I have been working every single day since the COVID started, and I've noticed just it changes everywhere, and it's if people have employment and they're with the same people all the time, and the employer's checking them out, they haven't been wearing masks except for when they deal with somebody from the outside. And I think that's like a discretionary thing that they have to do is like with the chief, if as you were saying, if they have somebody that could possibly, then they put the mask on, or if they're going to be in close contact. Um, so I guess what I'm saying is I'd like to see what, other police departments are doing. What's the standard and what's the norm here?
Okay. As I'm hearing it, we have 2 yeses, 2 nos, and a maybe. So there's no consensus there. Let me see. I already did mine. The next person up is, did we do you, Peter? Yeah.
You started me, Joe, and then you went off onto left field. I'm on the ULV sprayer, and one thing,
Okay,
the
let's go back to
distributor
that.
is placing an order tomorrow. They've already sold half of them. Once he places the order, the others will probably go quick. If we're not quick enough, then you may be waiting more weeks. Right now, I believe it was what, 3 weeks, Gene? 2 to 3 weeks, Jeannie, if we order tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it was 3 weeks.
If you want the electrostatic ones, schools are being told September, October. And those are more expensive.
Is there a motion to be made?
So all I'd
Are we
say
gonna
is,
talk about this?
John?
Okay, so I think this is great, but as we saw before, fluids and things like that were not available, such as isopropyl alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, aloe, bleach, and all those things. And the other part of it is proper PPE. We need to go and find out what we're going to be using for the fluid. We also have to make sure that we have to purchase the proper PPE to protect the employees. And the other part is contact time. If somebody was to contact this fluid within so many hours or minutes, and then they touch their eyes, what would happen? So the machine looks great and all that, but will we have anything to use it with, or using it? And what precautions do we have to take according to that fluid that we're using? And is it available?
it's our
Okay,
choice
Eric?
on that.
Okay, Eric?
I guess I'd just be concerned about, who's going to be trained to operate this machinery. Um, what regulations, I guess we need policies or procedures on this machinery, because I don't know if just anyone can use it, or does it, what has to be followed. So I think it's a great machine. But just buying the machine, okay, is it going to sit in a corner collecting dust, or is it going to be, properly used, and what's the policy to use it?
That's a good point. Should we
What's
get
the
more
policy to use
information?
zero?
Pardon, Peter?
You talk policies, it's like, what's the policy to run the zero turn? We can be policy to death. I'm looking for the health and safety of the employees. If we're going to do it, we should do it. The solvent or the disinfectant you use is our choice. They do sell a product, but they say you can use whatever you want, so it's all up to us. We can contact Hilliard. Tim, are they the ones that we've been getting our products lately? The bathroom?
Um, uh, I believe so. We only order twice a year. Uh, I'd have to double check. I know that we bought some stuff from WB Mason, but
Okay.
overall, we've purchased most things from Hilliard
If we
in
go
the
through
past.
WB Mason, let us know, because the contact for the ULV sprayer will give us a contact at WB Mason so we get the right product.
Okay, I'll look it up during your meeting here.
So, is there a motion to be made?
Oh, hold on a minute, I'm here. Pat, I'm a selectman too.
You started this, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Oh, go ahead. I know you're a selectman.
Thank you. You talk about the health and welfare of the people in the town and you want to keep them safe, yet not one of you are willing to make a decision on coming forward on the PD. And yet, if somebody gets sick in the PD, then everybody needs to quarantine. And this is the police department that we're talking about. So keep that in mind. When you talk about this sanitizer, and you look at the meetings that we have to have, zoning, planning, budget, sewer, and all of the other selectmen's, if every single time that we have a meeting, someone has to pay the cleaning bill for the cleaners to come in that evening to clean for the next night for another meeting that's going to come take place the very next meeting. So the very next day. So if you add up all those cleaning bills, are we going to pay for this in short order instead of going out and getting the fluid, trying to find the fluid in all of this and paying the cleaning people? I'd much rather buy this machine if we can afford it and get it done and have one person go through the building, boom, done. Rather than why are we sitting around saying, well, we should have a policy to run a machine? I mean, anybody can run this machine. We know that. And we're all adults. You want to sit here and hire our cleaning company every single night, Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, because that's when our meetings are, to clean town hall because we've just opened it up, and this would be a perfect solution to that. Am I right or am I wrong?
I don't disagree.
Well, it's something to think about. If you want to wait
Is
until
there
we
a
write
motion
a policy, wait till we write a policy and wait until we make a decision on where to find the fluids and what's in the fluids and how we're going to use it and who's going to use it. We're not going to have the availability and know, oh, by the way, it's gone up $1,000.
Joe,
Yes, John.
this isn't about that, Pat, and everybody. This is about OSHA requirements. This is about public safety for our employees. You can't just go and spray a chemical in a building, have an employee do it if you don't have an SDS for it and you know you have the proper. It is allowed to be sprayed and atomized. You you could be creating a worse problem. You could, if somebody goes and gets injured by that or inhales stuff that they should not be spraying, and we don't even have an SDS for it, we're not following that. That's wrong. That's against OSHA and public health stuff.
I agree.
Joe,
Peter?
I believe we're talking about a ULV. That has no SDS. It's a device that sprays the liquid. We choose what product we want. They have to provide us with the SDS when we buy it. So we can find out ahead of time between multiple products and then choose the one that you feel is best for the town. It's that simple.
Well, I did this for 14 years, and I've never seen a chemical that's purchased and then you look at the SDS and see if it's safe to use that way. That's all.
But we're not buying a
Generally,
chemical, we're buying a machine, and then we're buying the chemical which we would like to put in the machine. That's what he's saying. There's several chemicals
thanks,
that
Pat.
we can put in the machine. So we pick and choose the one we want. That's what he's saying, according to the SDS.
According to the salesman. Whatever.
All it's doing is basically atomizing the liquid to spray onto surfaces to disinfect based upon whatever dwell time the product we use has. As long as we meet the dwell time, it'll disinfect. If it dries too quick, it doesn't work. So that's why when we go through products, Hilliard is familiar with it. We need to, if we go through WB Mason, contact a special person. Otherwise, we may not get the right product.
Okay, we've had a spirited discussion. Is there a motion to be made?
So moved that we purchased it. Do we have enough money, Tim? Okay,
Yes, yes, it's
put it in.
reimbursable as well. So yes,
All right, then Constantino makes a motion that we buy this ULV sanitizer, is it called, Peter?
Spray device.
Spray device.
It's a sprayer, backpack sprayer.
Which one?
Bob second.
All right, discussion. Which one are we buying? There were two models shown, and one was $24.95 and one was almost 26, I think. Which one are we purchasing?
I'd look at the cheaper one.
Pat?
My motion's for the cheaper one.
My
Okay.
second's for the cheaper one.
Is there any other discussion? Eric?
Jeannie's got her hand raised.
Okay, I want to go through the selectmen first, but I'll get to you, Jeannie. Eric?
I just want to make sure that we have proper procedures in place. I know half of you don't like that, but there's a liability and there's workers' comp issues and there's an insurance issue. I've worked with chemicals before, and we want to make sure, you know, Peter, you said, oh, you can go ride the zero. So does that mean I can go drive the zero turn mower? No, you go through training on how to operate the machinery. So yeah, you have to follow policy. You have to have some type of training on it.
Okay.
Like to see the policy on the line striping machine since you're full of VOCs.
Okay. How about you, John? I think I know where you stand, though, buddy.
Yeah, I think we're jumping into it way too quick. Salesman saying buy before midnight tonight, $2,500. We don't even know what we're putting in it. We have no if it's even available. I think we're jumping into this way too quick.
Okay. Jeannie Forrester, please.
I just had a question for Peter. Peter, was the model that he showed us today the cheaper model?
Peter?
We'd have to ask him to confirm. I think it was Jeannie, but I'm not positive.
I guess I just want to know, confirm that, to know
Did you
exactly.
hear me, Joe? I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
We'd
We have
have
a
to.
motion and a
Uh,
second to purchase
if you.
the spray machine, disinfecting spray machine for $2,400, and I believe it's $95. We're gonna have a roll call vote. Constantino,
Constantino, yes.
Fogg,
Fog, yes.
Hyra,
Ah, I'm gonna say yes.
Scanlon,
Not at this time, no.
and Jessamine is a yes. The motion carries. So Jeannie, if you'd see that that got done. Peter, do you have anything else?
That was it, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, Eric, you're up next.
I had something on my way home from work, but I lost it. So I'll forget that. But the fire commission meeting will be July 13th, the district meeting, but it'll be at the middle school this year on July 13th at 7 p.m. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay, short and sweet. I like that about you, Eric. How about you, John?
No, not too much. I had a question from a resident. They were concerned that they were in a butter to the Kettlehead, and they said that they have tables set up right on the property line along the fence, and it makes a lot of noise and stuff. And they were okay with that during the COVID thing where they couldn't serve inside, but they were wondering, does that automatically carry over now that they're allowed to be um, uh, serving people inside the building, not have to have the outside? And they mentioned something about there was a 75-foot thing on the planning board hearing about how far they can have outdoor tables. But I didn't know if Jeannie had any information on that or.
Jeannie?
So Kettlehead did file a application for the outdoor seating, and it was approved by Tim Jubert and Al LaPlante. I asked Leanne, you had asked about setback requirements, and pulled the plan out. There are no setback requirements for tables. So the question that you just asked, which I want to confirm, I didn't, I guess I didn't understand that that's what you were looking for. I believe the outdoor dining has been extended through the governor's order for all restaurants. And I would just want to confirm that, but that is my belief that that's been extended. And as far as Kettlehead goes, they've done the paperwork, it's been approved. There are no setback requirements.
You're not really
John?
open.
Yeah, that's all. It was just brought to my attention, so I can refer to, watch. Just didn't know what to tell them. The other thing is but we have one more week of the trash amnesty day. There were quite a few lines, and it was brought to my attention by a couple people that they don't check any IDs or for stickers. And then it was also on the Facebook, the site thing, and I looked up a couple of people that were asking questions about it, and they actually live in Northfield. So I think we might be getting trash from out of town. And I think it would be a good idea that people do get screened before they get in that line or come in. And it's very expensive for us. And um, the other towns have not been doing theirs, so we're getting a lot of their stuff too.
I brought the
Jeannie,
issue up.
could you follow up on that, please?
Sure, Joe. And Eric started to say, and he's correct, he brought that up, I believe, last week in his report. I did talk to Kevin about it, and I think this is something that at least he said to me that he had brought to the selectmen's attention when he very first came on board as the director, wanting to have residents have stickers so that they could identify. And at that time, there didn't appear to be any interest to pursue that. But he's more than.
We
that?
currently have stickers.
Uh,
We currently have stickers.
We all have stickers.
Yep.
Oh, he wanted coupons.
yeah, it was that was a coupon program. That was something that I really wanted to see as well. That we had worked on because we spend an inordinate amount of money on Amnesty Week, and that was an opportunity for people to be able to take things throughout the year because they get a certain number of coupons, and then they can always come to town hall to buy additional coupons if they need it, if they have to take things, and they don't have to, house things at their homes during the year. So that was the coupon idea.
Okay, but in lieu of the coupon idea, we do have stickers. The vehicles should have stickers.
But I was in the car behind John, and he was not asking last week for the stickers. I can tell you that right now.
Okay, so Jeannie, please follow up with that.
Can I say this? On our website,
Yep.
it says spring cleanup days, the Amnesty days for the annual spring cleanup on 4 consecutive Saturdays. It says proof of residency or a town of Tilton dump sticker will be required to participate. And that's right on our front of our homepage. So we need to check that.
So we're back to Jeannie. Would you please look into that?
Eric's had his hand raised.
Eric?
Yeah, I can tell you, I renewed my car registration in May, and I was not sent a sticker. My car has no vehicle sticker or resident sticker on it, and I find that hard to believe. But I think we should. You guys will hate me. I think that they should write the license plate of the car on that sticker so that we know it's matching to a resident.
Why would you want a sticker when you register your vehicle? You get a dump sticker that would last you 5-6 years until it wears off.
No, they've always had an expiration date on them.
That
No,
year.
hold on. Might be right.
Pat's got a sticker.
I don't have one, so I can't check. But when I used to get them, they should get them out when they get their registration.
2021 it says. Expires 2021.
There you go. So they do have an expiration date, but we're not using the stickers. The stickers are available at the town clerk's office, last I checked. So can we pursue this, Jeannie?
Well, you could get a brand new car after you get a dump sticker. I mean, it would be impossible to figure out everyone that registers a car to send them a dump sticker. You could be giving them duplicates. In that case,
You could just get a dump sticker when you register your vehicle.
right?
No, because when you register your car, you're bringing in the new car paperwork. So it's a car that's a resident. You get a sticker.
So I have a dump sticker. I have a dump sticker that expires December 2020, but I just had a brand new car, Nissan, that I don't have a dump sticker on. That I go to the dump with.
When you go to register your car, you should get a sticker.
Joe?
It's up to the resident to ask for a sticker.
Why?
John,
Yeah,
you should come on.
Yeah.
John?
So that's pretty much it. And just to reiterate what I said, and I read it off, it's proof of residency or a town of Tilton dump sticker. So Somebody pulls out their driver's license, says Tilton, New Hampshire, you're good. That's all I
There
have.
you go. Okay. Is there any questions from the public for any of the selectmen? Anybody out there? This is your big chance. Okay, hearing none. Gene Forrester, you're next on board. You're up.
Thank you, Joe. So reopening town buildings. The employees at Town Hall met and they have a suggested reopening plan. I put a copy of that plan in your board packet and it was also attached to my report as well. I'd like you to take a look at that and if you have any questions and see if you are willing to approve that. Do you want me to go through? I don't know if everyone got a chance to look at it. I can go through it.
Well, I've got it and I read it.
I did not
Just,
have a chance to read it. I'm sorry, I got everything else, but I did not realize that that was in there.
oh, there's something here, Jeannie, that reminds me of another thing. Last week when John and I left the town hall, the side door to the town hall building was locked, but it was open. It wasn't securely latched. So John was standing right there with me and I pulled on the door and the door just came open. So that's something that I don't know why or how, but people have to make sure that that door is securely fastened when they exit through it. As far as anything else, all this stuff looks like pretty standard, kind of.
Well,
But
it did.
except,
Yeah, I was going to say, it did sound like you might have had an issue when you were reading your comment.
except by appointment only. That means people can't just go, oh, I need to stop in and ask the selectman's office something, or people can't just come to town hall. You have to call up in advance. And I don't know is that's necessarily a thing we have to do. What do you think, Jeannie?
I think what this document represents is the comfort level of the employees in town hall. And there was very much a feeling, a lot of other town halls are staying closed to the public until July 1st. So that was the comfort level that they had. They would rather have people make appointments to or try to do transactions, which we've been doing for quite a while. Again, if I suppose if they're going to wear a mask, but I'm just telling you what everybody, and Tim, you were part of that conversation, so you can pipe in if you want, but it's the comfort level of the employees at town hall, and they feel like, and at the very top of the guidelines, I said it could be reevaluated on July 2nd.
I have a
Okay,
question.
Pat,
Under the meetings and the selectmen's, under the selectmen's table, can you talk more about how you're going to accomplish that and still have the microphones? Isn't that going
Yeah.
through an expense moving the wires and the microphones and everything else?
Sure, but before I go to that, I just want to back up. When you mentioned meetings, I also want to point out, Joe, that if you have public in the office, in the building, what you're going to do is require cleaning every night to disinfect because you've got the outside coming in. So just keep that in mind. Relative to the meeting of the select board, I've measured out the distances and Kevin did bring over another table. So effectively what we have up there right now is a horseshoe shape. and you could have one selectman in the center. You could have two on the very either end of the table for that 6-foot distance. And then at the outside of the horseshoe at the end, at the tip, you would have two more selectmen. So that would give you your 6-foot distance. Every selectman would wear a face mask unless they were speaking. I would not be sitting at the table because there's nowhere for me to sit, which is not an issue. You have enough space in the facility to have 7 more people from the public attend the meeting. In terms of videotaping the meeting, we would put the camera in the center, but I don't believe, and Tim and I are working on this, I don't believe that you're going to be able to see all 5 selectmen.
Right. In fact, if I may, I'm going to have to look at some type of other equipment for up there to, if we wanted to get all 5 selectmen in the shot, and then in order to also get the audio in. So we're going to I have to do some reconfiguring. I've looked at some equipment online, and the good news is that if we did have to buy some things, it is reimbursable, providing, it's for the purposes that Jeannie provided. But it should be reimbursable, and we could upgrade some things or change some things. But I guess it really depends on what your expectations are as well. If you're planning on having public within the room, that's one thing. If you're planning on having the board in person, but having the public participate through, an online venue like this, where you can see people either on a TV screen or something like that, I would just need to know what you would want and what the expectations are for communicating with the public at large.
Can we still do a version of this for the public?
Well, and that's what I'm saying is that, so if you would imagine one of these squares that you see now would be boy, the camera would have to be pretty far back, probably to get that 18-foot distance from end to end of the table. But one of these squares would represent the selectmen's table with the selectmen around it, or the horseshoe, if you will. And then other people that would join in, you would see on some type of monitor that I'd have to have up there large enough for you to be able to see them, and that the sound I would have to get some type of audio devices to allow for the sound to broadcast properly through GoToMeeting or Zoom or whatever we would use. So it can be done. It's just going to require some thought, and it really depends on what you really want. I mean, the cheapest and easiest thing is just to continue your meetings as you're doing now. It's more complicated once we put in the physical location. But it's not to say that it can't be done, and there's nothing that says that if you're meeting in the physical location, you have to provide an online presence, as far as I know.
So, Joe, can I say something? So why can't we, instead of going through all of that bother, why can't we extend our virtual meetings and non-publics go to town hall? That way we eliminate all that hassle and extra money. And we're only, the only benefit to that we would be able to add 7 people to our meetings. And we could add a lot more virtually.
Joe,
Peter?
can someone enlighten me? If I'm 6 foot apart, then I don't need a mask. So if we sit like we normally do, if we wear masks, we're all set.
Well, This here, it says that when we're in the building, we would be wearing a mask. We're also sitting 6 feet apart, so that's like a tough one, Peter. It says
No,
if
I'm
we
looking
approve
what
this, then we
CDC
have
says.
to wear a mask. What we're looking to improve is not the CDC
Yes, but are we going above and
guidelines.
beyond CDC?
It could be. I don't know that.
No, no, we're not.
How about you, Eric?
I would just question the same thing. If we're 6 feet apart, do we need to wear a mask?
I didn't get an answer.
I know, but I thought I'd ask again.
Excuse me, my understanding is that you're still supposed to wear a mask. You take it off when you speak, you put it back on. I'm happy to check that out, but that's my understanding, Peter. And again, you know, you pointed out before, I think, Pat, when we got into this discussion about Polly's restaurant, their guidelines, you know, the public health woman came down to check out Polly's. You know, there was a discussion about that the people walking by had to be 6 foot from the person sitting down. That's the guideline, right? And wearing a mask. But the public health lady said, if they're moving by, they're not so much worried about, it's the congregating in one space that they're worried about the spread droplets, you know, through speaking, that would spread. Whether if you were close enough to hit somebody's face with the droplets coming from your mouth, or whether it went onto the table, somebody touched it with their hand, then touched the face. So these are all only guidelines. It's only for, again, the point of it is to keep everyone safe. And the only thing I would say to you, whether it's the police department or whether it's our town hall, one person gets COVID, we're all quarantined for 14 days. So
I have another question. Eric, go ahead, Eric.
I just had just about the general town. Is it this still about our meetings or town hall reopening in general?
now in the
Town hall
guidelines,
reopening in general.
I guess my concern is if you're locking that door, what's the legality of locking that side school street door? You can't legally lock a door while it's occupied and open to the public.
we've been doing it all along, Eric. With this COVID-19, things have changed.
Town hall's been closed.
Yes,
Right, but now we're opening it to the public.
we're opening the front door to the public for the town clerk tax collector.
And other departments by appointment. Is that correct?
Correct.
Eric?
No, I just question the legality of that.
Okay. Also, the side door School Street entrance is also our only handicapped access. So any handicapped person would have to be allowed access with an appointment, right? Through that door, I would think.
And that's addressed in these guidelines.
There you go. My question goes to after each selectmen's meeting, and I'm assuming that that's for all meetings, the space, including the hallway to the upstairs, will be cleaned and sanitized by our cleaning company, which means probably maybe 3 nights a week sometimes. What does that cost? And does that machine that we just bought, once we get the proper disinfectants and somebody is trained in how to use it, does that mitigate the need for the cleaning company?
So I would
Jeannie?
think I would think that using that spray sanitizer would alleviate that. It would require an employee be trained on it, so that would, I'm sure, would be overtime for that employee to come in and do that. And they would spray the hallway and upstairs in the in the selectmen's meeting room. So yes, you would alleviate having to have the cleaner come in every single night.
We're currently paying $749 per month for the town hall cleaning, and that's twice a week.
So if,
But that isn't a COVID type cleaning. That's just the general cleaning.
That's the regular cleaning, yeah. So it would obviously be, it depends on how many additional meetings. Give you, for instance, the budget committee is the only committee that has not met virtually that I'm aware of, and at least, met at least once virtually. And they have been postponing their meetings to try to meet at town hall, which is now scheduled for this next Wednesday. But as I understand it, then there would have to be cleaning following that meeting.
Yes.
so once we get this machine, does it have to be an employee? Could one of the selectmen do it? Could I volunteer to do the cleaning after we met? I mean, does it have to be an employee with overtime?
Doesn't have to be.
Okay, so I think the question is, do we approve these guidelines for the opening of town hall? I would make a motion that we approve the guidelines in place for the opening of town hall, with the exception of having the cleaning company coming in to disinfect. Let me see, the sewer station already has a plexiglass screen because I saw it today. And to be reevaluated on July 2nd. Is there a second?
For the sake of discussion, I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
I would
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to amend that with the exception of the selectmen's meeting and have the selectmen's meeting virtual.
We have an amendment offered. Is there a second? All I hear is crickets. Okay, I hear no second, Pat.
I'm second. I'm seconding.
All right. Okay. We have a motion and a second to add the amendment that the selectmen's meetings will be continued to be held virtually as opposed to at town hall. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Peter?
Let's just go to the vote.
Yeah.
Eric?
Uh,
Eric?
yeah, go to the vote, I guess.
John?
Rather-
So, Pat, I hear what you're saying, but my concern, are we just only going to do that for selectmen's meeting? What are we really accomplishing if we're going to have budget, conservation, and all these other meetings? By just limiting the selectmen, not going to accomplish it that much.
Jeannie wants to answer that.
Yeah, actually,
Jamie?
the recommendation, these guidelines, the reopening guidelines addresses that, and it says under meeting that other board, committee, and commission meetings will continue virtually at this time, and there will be no meetings that will be allowed by outside groups at this time. That's on the back page under meeting.
Okay.
Right underneath it, after it says, after each selectmen's meeting, the space, it says, other board, committee, commission meetings will continue virtually at this time. No meetings will be allowed by outside groups at this time.
Oh, that's cut off on mine.
Oh, sorry.
I don't have that part. Okay. Is there anything below that?
Yeah, general. Bathrooms will be closed to the public. Anyone entering town hall must wear face mask.
I
Employees
got
will,
that part. No,
okay.
I got, all right. I just didn't get the other boards and committees thing. Is there any new discussion on the amendment?
So you're saying Parks Commission can't meet at Riverfront Park if they so desire?
No, that, this has to do with town hall.
Well, all
And
it
all
says is meetings, and then under other boards and all will continue virtually. There's no exception or anything. So I'm assuming it's
Now this,
going carte blanche.
so at the very top of this document, it says reopening guidelines for Tilton Town Hall. Because you guys had decided on everything else last week.
Okay.
And just remember, just a reminder, this is just for another 2 weeks. July 2nd, we're going to revisit this and see where we're at.
Pat, excuse me.
Go ahead, John.
Could you restate your motion?
My motion is to approve the guidelines set forth by Jeannie Forrester on reopening the town buildings with the exceptions of the selectmen's meetings, and we will continue to have the selectmen's meetings virtually, and we can bring that up in a couple of weeks, I guess. Look at it again in a couple of weeks.
Before we go any further, just let me state that the amendment was specifically to hold the selectmen's meeting virtually. It had nothing to do with the main motion. We're just voting on the amendment right now. Okay? And only the amendment.
Joe, it's hard to hear you. You're not speaking clearly.
We're only voting, I'm speaking clearly. The only thing we're voting on is the amendment. We're not voting on the main motion, we're voting on an amendment.
That's the amendment.
I think what,
Okay.
okay. I was just going to say, Joe was saying that you're voting on the amendment only.
Yeah,
That's correct. Okay.
that's the
Any other
amendment.
discussion?
Eric had his hand up.
Well, if the amendments, so the amendments just decide whether to hold these virtually for another 2 weeks.
No,
For the selectmen, that's correct.
Well, we go to town hall for non-public. What's the difference? So,
Yeah, we do.
the difference is non-public is not open to the public. That's the difference
I think we're limiting ourselves.
for 2 weeks.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, roll. The amendment is to go virtual for the next 2 weeks with the selectmen. Constantino,
Yes, Constantino, yes.
Fog, no.
Jessamine, no. Tyra,
Ira, no.
Scanlon,
Yes.
Okay, the motion fails. We're back to the main motion, which is to accept the opening of town hall guidelines as presented by the town administrator. Exception, no, I didn't make that motion, did I? No. As presented by the town administrator. That we have a motion for that and we have a second. Is there any other discussion on the main motion? I can't see anybody's hand up, so you'll have to sing out.
So we're gonna vote on having selectmen's meetings at the office. We're gonna have cleaning there every night, and everything
On
pertaining
Thursday
to
night.
what Jeannie wrote here in this little Bible here.
That's correct. And we would be meeting there on Thursday night.
And we'll spend the money on cleaning. And we're
Is there any other discussion?
all wear masks.
Okay. Is there any other questions? So, roll call vote. Constantino,
No,
Fogg,
Fog, yes.
Pyra,
Ira, yes.
Scanlon,
Yes.
and Jessamine is a yes. Motion carries. Okay, Jeannie. Back to you.
Next item is the Cedar Street project. Kevin would like to complete the project this year. We've talked to Tim about that, and he did say we have the funds, and he recommends, as well as I do, that we complete this project. And if you concur, we'd like a motion to that effect.
Would somebody like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
well, let me make it so it will fail. So let me do that. I'll make the motion that they start on Cedar Street project right away.
I'm not going to accept that motion.
Told you.
What we need is, I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion.
Sure,
I
Joe.
move that we expend $57,370 from the roads, streets, bridges, sidewalks capital reserve fund to complete the Cedar Street project as soon as possible. Is there a second?
Ira, second.
We have a motion in a second. Is there any discussion? Pat,
Well, thank you.
Peter,
When we say Cedar Street, did we put the surface on the other roads last year, or when we say Cedar, is it for the 4 roads in question?
it's the entire Cedar Street project.
Well, Joe, see, we did Cedar Street, we did Linden, we did Highland, and then
I believe that was
part of High, I believe. The motion here says is specific with Cedar Street, so I'm trying to clarify.
Cedar Street.
The motion was for the Cedar Street project, all encompassing. All the
Okay,
roads put the base
see, we
coat
had
on
issues
last
with,
would get top coat under this motion.
Well, the way I read it, it's Cedar Street project, one street listed.
Well, I think we've been calling it the Cedar Street project all along,
Okay.
and included Linden
Okay.
and all the rest of it.
Okay.
And that's certainly my intent.
Okay. So, what sort of guarantees, warranties, or anything do we have? Because your number one reason for failure is most likely due to compaction, and if you don't hit the mix at 300 degrees or higher, you are losing a battle. And my guess is last year, no one was watching them when they paved it. It was cold, wet, and if they weren't on it, that's why it failed in those sections.
Thank you, Peter. Eric,
I'm good.
John?
Yeah, Jeannie, I think Kevin keeps an eye on this, and he can watch the temperature and I think he, right?
You good, John?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion and we
I
have a
doubt
second.
we even have copies of the slips from last year.
That I don't know. You'd have to get in touch with Kevin or have Jeannie get in
We
touch
never did
with
get an
Kevin.
answer.
Jeannie?
Yes, Joe.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Did we ever get the slips that Peter was asking about for tonnages and what have you for the base course for the Cedar Street project? I recall him asking for that paperwork.
And I believe that Kevin sent that information.
I remember seeing it.
Well, there you go. It should be in the dashboard then, Peter. Peter?
I've got poor quality, so I haven't heard 3/4 of what you've said in the last 2 minutes, Joe.
Okay, what I said was Kevin was supposed to have procured those numbers, and they're supposed to be in the selectmen's dashboard. John Scanlon said that he has seen the figures. So
What
there
should
you
have
go.
happened, Joe, is you collect them when I can get slips printed out. What you do is you collect them when they delivered. That way you know you're getting the product.
Okay, and we'll be doing that this time around, no doubt.
I would, all right, whatever.
Well, all we can do is move forward or not. If we don't put the top workhorse on that, I don't think that's an answer either. Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Putting it down incorrectly isn't going to help us either.
No? You're absolutely right. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Constantino.
Well, now that you've asked everybody for their opinion except me on
I'm sorry,
what you
Pat. I
say
thought I
about the
started
Cedar
with
Street
you.
project, now you want me to vote on it.
I
Yeah,
thought I started with you. I'm old. I forget things. Go ahead. Before we start, go ahead.
I'm just keeping track of it, Joe, tonight. That's all.
Okay, good thing. Good
Yeah.
thing. So
You get my
you
vote
have
for the third time, yes. Did everyone hear me? Say yes.
yes,
Yes,
we're
right?
waiting for you.
No, I'm not talking about it. You just go right ahead. I voted yes.
Okay then. Fog.
Yes.
Ira.
Ira, yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
And Jessamine is a yes. The vote is unanimous. Jeannie, it's back to you.
Thank you, Joe. I just want to go back to Peter really quickly, Peter, since you said you didn't hear a lot of what we were talking about. I just want to confirm with you what it is that you want to see going forward on this project so you feel comfortable that this is getting done the right way. And I'll write it down and I'll talk with Kevin about it. Or you can send me an email.
My issue was we ate the whole thing. It wasn't our fault. My guess is it's compaction. There should have been some sort of give and take with both parties, but there wasn't. So
But that's behind us and I get it. I understand your frustration, but
not,
going forward,
not we went past it.
I don't know.
Going forward, Peter?
If you do proper, yeah, if we do proper procedures, Joe, it'll last. If we don't, it falls apart, as evidenced last year.
So
I agree.
could you send me an email, Peter, with those proper procedures? I'm not an expert in.
No, I know you're not, Jeannie. Public Works should know, or you can go to YouTube. You've got the American Asphalt Association. There's enough places with training videos to show what Public Works should be watching if they're going to inspect.
Okay, all right. The
In other words, he's not going to help you.
um, I want to move on to just to give you an update on the CDFA grant application that I was going to work on for the town relative to getting matching funds for the sidewalk for next year when we're ready to do projects again. Apparently, Tilton does not fit the low to moderate income requirements to apply for CDFA grants. So we will not be applying for that grant, but trust me when I say I will continue looking for grant funding. We already talked about the island concerts, and I guess at this point we're waiting to hear back from Northfield about what they're going to require, if they're saying yes or no to this. You all saw the flags that have gone up on Main Street. Big shout out to the DPW, to the police department, and Rick from Yesco Signs, who put all those flags up, 48 flags. There was a suggestion that we put up additional flags. I think that actually came from Pat, up to Riverfront Park and the Civil War Monument. I did check on that. I went back to the 150th committee because you remember that funding was given to the 150th committee by the select board in the budget, and asked them what they thought about purchasing 10 more flags, because I went down and counted how many more we would need. They thought it was a great idea. About $600 more. We have the money. I checked with Tim. So we'd like to go ahead and get 10 more flags and get them installed. That's the
I'm a yes.
150th committee.
Pat?
It would be great to see it go up to the Civil War monument up there. I've had a couple of comments. It looks absolutely awesome going into town to see those flags. And when you see it go up through the Lowe's area and then come back, it stops, and then you see a monument. It would be really nice just to have that continue to that monument. It would be really nice.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
I'm a no at this time until we get a go-ahead on releasing funds for all departments. If we're on a hold on spending, then I say we wait. You've got other departments that'll complain, well, why are we doing this? So I'm just trying to be fair.
Eric?
My thought was, when I first saw it, I thought it looks great. But we have the veterans home. Why can't we go up Winter Street to the veterans home? But we put the veterans home. They fought for all those flags to be there. It would be a nice, kind of a cool way to honor them. But that'd be another day, another year. But it looks good. So yeah, I'm for it.
John? Scanlon?
But Jeannie, so they're what, $60 a piece?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm for getting them. Yeah.
And I'm forgetting them as well. And I hear a consensus to get the flags. Do we need an official vote?
I don't think so.
There you go.
All right. Couple more things and then I'm done. We, at the last meeting, the select board voted to go ahead with the island concerts. And I know we're stalled on that now because essentially Northfield has come back and said they're concerned about COVID and liability issues. When you voted yes for the island concerts, I then brought up to you, well, what about summer fair? Because you voted not to have summer fair. You asked me to go back to the 150th committee and ask what procedures they would put in place to address the COVID issues. And essentially it was, we'll follow the guidelines, 6-foot distancing, masks, that sort of thing. So I said I would bring that back to you. So I'm bringing it back. I don't know where you want to go. I guess I feel it doesn't sound like, unless the island concerts go somewhere else, it doesn't sound hopeful. And it all revolves around the COVID issue. And you know, the other fairs have been canceled around the state, Sandwich Fair. So I don't know if you want to hold to your original, which was let's do summer fair next year, or if you want to reconsider.
Is there anybody here for reconsideration? Pat?
I could go either way. I'd love to have some type of thing in the town where we could have something positive going on in town, downtown, wherever. But I do understand the COVID issues, so I could go with however the board votes.
Peter?
Do they have anything already assembled as to what's going to happen with the costs?
No,
And do we have an idea of what the budget's going to be?
well, if you remember, we were able to get the Rotary Club to return the $5,000 that was given to them by the Main Street Committee years back to hold the summer fair. And the Rotary Club never held the summer fair. So it was given back to the town for us to hold a summer fair. So whether it happens this year or next year, the money's still gonna be there for summer fair specifically.
So that summer fair is not funded through taxation.
No.
Okay. I'm good.
Eric?
I should go either way. I just think they wouldn't have enough time to make it a good fair. I don't know. I'd love to see fireworks added. I could go either way.
John?
Yeah, a tough one. I think maybe we'd be better off, or we would be better off just saving the money for next year and do a really good one. Maybe there's something else that we could have that's just not like a summer fair.
Okay. Me personally, I feel like New Hampshire and Tilton in particular has been quite fortunate in the fact that we haven't had any big outbreaks of COVID-19. And we have a care facility with high risk individuals within the town. And yet we still haven't had any real problems. That said, the virus hasn't gone away. And I have to vote on the side of caution. Maybe it's just because I got bad lungs and I'm in that group, but it doesn't sound like large groups of people congregating willy-nilly downtown and there's no real enforcement you have to wear a mask. Oh, you're 3 feet away. It's like, that's ridiculous. And that's unenforceable. I don't know. I'm a no myself. And unless anybody would like to make a motion to put the summer fair back on, I say we move on to the next subject. Okay. I don't hear anybody jumping in there. I could be wrong, but Jeannie, the floor is back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. I just have a couple more things and then I'm done. I want to give you some highlights from yesterday's call with the governor on the COVID-19. COVID-19 numbers continue to go down for the most part. They were at historic lows yesterday, and only 60 patients in New Hampshire hospitals actually have COVID-19. However, the numbers are spiking in other states, and we've been hearing that. Guidelines for schools reopening will hopefully be out just after July 4th. And they are working on final protocol process needs to be issued for the distribution of, you probably heard, 50 million for last mile for broadband. And finally, emergency orders that the New Hampshire Municipal Association, you recall this had to do with being able to move funds from capital reserves and giving you more flexibility if we need it. We are expecting to hear from the governor on that in the next day or two. Actually, one other thing, governor has had multiple conversations with the Secretary of State with no success about election issues such as the ability to expand or decrease the number of polling places. So they're still working on that. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. The time being, well, no, wait a minute. Is there any comment or questions from the public?
Yeah.
Tim?
I do have one thing.
Thank you.
Uh, my apologies for it being late to the board, but I did send a report to you with some updates. But the most important thing is that we have a commercial gas services agreement that needs to be executed for the new police station. And that I've filled it out for us. It was Milestone and the contractor had filled some out. I filled out the balance of it. It's ready for signature. There's only room for one signature, and there's numerous pages to initial and date. So in anticipation of the board motioning for the chair to sign it, I put it in the Sign Now account. So if the board would make a motion to authorize the chair to sign the Liberty Utilities Commercial Gas Services Agreement, I would appreciate it.
So moved. Constantino.
Is there a second?
Second and Scanlon.
We have a motion and a second. Can you, under discussion, Tim, can you explain to me exactly what this contract that the chair would be signing
Sure.
involves and entails?
Sure. So it is essentially it is an agreement for new service. So it outlines the type of equipment that's going to use gas there. There's also a map that I didn't include with the agreement, but a map that shows where the site engineers had mapped out where the line is actually going to go from the street into the building. And then there's information in terms of what our min and max demands are going to be in terms of the pressure and then the size pipes and mostly engineering components that are required for the installation of a new service. There's no cost to the town in this new service, and once we're connected, we will be transitioning to our Sprague Energy, which is our natural gas supplier. So this is simply for the new service connection.
Okay, are there any other questions? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Constantino.
Constantino, yes.
Fogg.
Fogg, yes.
Ira.
Ira, yes.
Scanlon.
Scanlon, yes.
And Jessamine is a yes as well. The motion passes unanimously. Jeannie? Or Tim? Are you done?
Thank you, Joe. And it's in the Sign Now. It's waiting for your signature.
I saw it earlier.
I appreciate that. And I did put out some information on our tax receipts so far through June 15th, and along with the top 25 that we've already seen the receipts for. So you'll see that in my report to you in your email, or it's also located in the board packet. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. It's the time being 6:35 p.m. I'd like to make a motion to move into non-public session per RSA 91-8:3, paragraph 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against them. We expect to be back into, no, I'll leave that part out, against them. Is there a second?
Second, Scanlon.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Constantino,
Constantino, yes.
Fogg,
Bog, yes.
Ira,
Ira, yes.
Scanlon,
Scanlon, yes.
Jessamine is a yes. We stand in non-public. We expect to be back into public session at approximately 7 p.m. if anybody listening would like to join us then. To the Selectmen, we'll be meeting in 10 minutes at the first floor meeting room on Town Hall. See you there. Okay, is everybody on the line?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to personnel issues permanently. Is there a second?
Ira, second.
Bog, second.
We have several seconds. And is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Constantino,
Yes.
Bog, yes.
Jessamine, yes. Ira
Ira, yes.
and
Scanlon,
Scanlon.
yes.
Is there any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen?
Motion to adjourn?
Bog,
Uh,
second.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. Roll call vote. Constantino,
Yes.
Fogg,
Bog, yes.
Jessamine, yes. Ira
Ira, yes.
and Scanlon.
Scanlon, yes.
We'll see you all next week at the town hall. Thank you very much.